This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Using children in the war against Israel, that is one of the tactics being used by Hamas along with hospitals for terrorist command centers. Meanwhile, the Israeli military is keeping up its attacks on Hamas, and the government is working on plans for what will happen in Gaza after the war is over. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more now in our top story.
As fighting continues in the Gaza Strip, Israel is trying to come up with a plan for governing the volatile area after the war ends. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, the first senior official to go public with a blueprint, laid out a four-part plan. It includes ongoing Israeli military control of the overall security situation, a multinational task force led by the U.S., along with European and moderate Arab nations, to oversee civil affairs and economic rehabilitation of Gaza. Egypt takes responsibility for main civilian border crossings to Gaza, and existing Palestinian administration mechanisms will stay in place. The plan does not include the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which Israel says has worked lockstep with Hamas, nor does it include a return of Israeli communities to the Gaza Strip. The blueprint reportedly touched a raw nerve in more right-wing members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, who opposed the forced removal of some 9,000 Israelis from their communities in the Gaza Strip 18 years ago. Many believe if those Israelis had not been pulled out, the October 7th attacks never would have happened. As the war continues, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his way to Israel for the fourth time in 3 months, expected to focus on trying to prevent the Israel-Hamas war from spreading in the region. Netanyahu met with visiting U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham Thursday, who said he was committed to bringing stability to Israel. Graham visited Kfar Aza, one of the 22 communities worst hit by the Hamas massacre on October 7th.
This attack was primarily motivated, I think, to stop the effort to reconcile between Saudi Arabia and Israel to build on the Abraham Accords. The brutality here was so strong and so visible, making it impossible for Israel not to respond. The destruction of Hamas is non-negotiable. Whatever it takes, as long as it takes.
And the Israeli military is pursuing that mission of destroying Hamas. Inside Gaza, the Israel Defense Forces raided a Hamas base that included a branched underground network connecting to an underground weapons factory.
There were a number of trap doors to make it difficult to get into. Behind the doors were explosive materials, machines, and other tools from which they created long-range rockets and other means of warfare used for carrying out terrorist operations for years on the territory of the State of Israel.
A day earlier, IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari noted that international intelligence agencies led by the U.S. are supporting Israel's findings on the terror infrastructure under Shifa Hospital.
Based on these intelligence agencies, these actions by Hamas are an indication of Hamas's terror activity and how they cynically exploit hospitals for terror and also for holding hostages.
Israel also exposed evidence that Hamas is educating children to hate Israel and Jews, something advocacy groups have been saying for years. In non-war times, Hamas operates summer camps where children learn to shoot weapons, storm tunnels, fight tanks, and kidnap soldiers. During the current war, Israel says Hamas has been employing children to deliver messages and ammunition to terrorists, knowing that Israel complies with international law and won't harm children. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Back here at home, several people were injured and one person is dead following a shooting in Iowa. It happened on Thursday, and today the community is dealing with the aftermath of that shooting. Police received a call of an active shooter at 7:37 in the morning at Perry High School. They arrived on the scene within minutes and found multiple shooting victims. The shooter, 17-year-old Dylan Butler, had already opened fire, shooting 5 students and a principal. A 6th grade student did not survive, and the gunman, who's also a student at the school, took his own life. One 9th grader saw the shooter in the bathroom just before the shooting.
It's just traumatizing because honestly, he could have just killed me then and there and I wouldn't be here right now.
This was the first day back to school after the Christmas and New Year's holiday break. Police have not confirmed a motive for the shooting. The illegal immigration crisis is likely to be a top issue in this year's elections, and dozens of Republican lawmakers traveled to the border Wednesday to get a first-hand look. Here's Washington correspondent Hillary Powell.
Republicans have said new aid for Ukraine must be tied to increased U.S. border security. The GOP is walking their talk. House Speaker Mike Johnson and 60 other Republican lawmakers visited the border in Texas. It seems Republicans are focused on making the border a key issue this election year.
Every state in America is now a border state, and we've seen that on vivid display today. We would describe it as both heartbreaking and infuriating.
Standing near the U.S. border where thousands of migrants continue to cross, House Speaker Mike Johnson is demanding the White House use more executive actions to stem the record surge of illegal crossings. In Eagle Pass, Texas, House Republicans are expressing concern after the U.S. southern border saw a record rate of illegal migrant encounters last month. U.S. Customs and Border Protection confirms to ABC News officials encountered more than 300,000 migrants in December, far surpassing the previous record of nearly 270,000 in September 2023. In a contentious move to deal with the overflow, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is flying and busing hundreds of migrants to cities, including New York, Washington, D.C., Denver, and Chicago, creating a crisis for many mayors. New York City Mayor Eric Adams issued an executive order making chartered buses bringing migrants into the city provide 32 hours notice, calling it a humanitarian crisis.
And that's why we're in court now to say that the right to shelter should not have an impact on this migrant crisis.
Republicans blame the surge on policies of the Biden administration. President Joe Biden defends his administration, saying the nation is dealing with a hemisphere-wide challenge and that his administration needs Congress to act. In Chicago, Joaquin Sanchez, a descendant of Mexican immigrants, wants lawmakers to consider compassion.
The prioritization of family and survival and breaking out of poverty. I think that's common with my family and with the immigrants today.
It's a stance one pastor says is rooted in Christian ideals.
It's wrong for people to come in here illegally, but our rhetoric must line up in a way that speaks to the blessing of a particular emerging demographic that continues to serve possibly, if it's done in a good way, as the future of the conservative movement in America.
Conservatives are pressing for the provisions in H.R. 2, a bill they passed last year that would restart construction of walls along the southern border and make it drastically more difficult for migrants to claim asylum in the U.S. A bipartisan group of senators is trying to make progress before Congress returns to Washington next week. In Washington, Hillary Powell, CBN News.
And we're marking an important anniversary here in our own family. This week, CBN Canada celebrated 50 years. It all started in the late 1960s when viewers watched the 700 Club from U.S. border TV stations, and Canadian viewers started calling the prayer line. So in 1974, CBN registered the name Christian Broadcasting Associates in Canada, including the first prayer center. The ministry grew, and the 700 Club began airing on many national and local stations across Canada, as Operation Blessing storefronts were also open to help those in need. Then in the 90s came Canada's edition, a weekly show dealing with current topics while also sharing the gospel, followed by the 700 Club Canada in 2011, which includes Bible teachings, interviews, testimonies, and so much more. The ministry also added prayer line, Superbook, social media, and media outreach, and it's continued to grow over the past 50 years. Coming up, I want to show you how you can get your money in shape for the new year. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. The new year is here, and many people seek new goals to improve their lives. So the so-called resolutions usually include getting in better shape by either losing weight or eating healthier. Another financial expert says, though, however, stressing the importance of getting your money in shape. Our Charlene Aaron is on this story.
Folks call in all the time and they're saying the same thing. They're going, Jade, I know I'm supposed to budget. Jade, I know I'm supposed to live on less than I make, but I just can't do it.
As a debt elimination expert and financial coach on the Dave Ramsey Show, Jade Warshaw sprinkles her financial advice with wit and spunk.
Having a 0 credit score is just as good, in my opinion, better than having a 750 or an 800 because I don't have to play the game of debt.
Advice Warshaw once needed in her own life. 13 years ago, she and her husband Sam, both Christians, shifted their mindset, beliefs, and actions around money. Those changes enabled them to pay off nearly $500,000 of debt in under 8 years.
You don't just have $460,000 of debt and go, okay, let's just start paying it off. When you realize the mess you've made, you have to start asking yourself real questions. Because at that point, it's beyond the money. I did not like accountability. I felt like I deserved to be able to spend.
In her new book, Money is Not a Math Problem, Why You're Broke and What to Do About It, Warshaw candidly shares about past financial struggles and points out lies people believe about money, including the need for a budget.
A lot of people feel that budgets are only for people who are poor. Right? Budgets are for people who are bad with money, who don't make enough money. It's just all this stigma attached to it.
She adds budgets are like toothbrushes in that everybody needs one. Warshaw also disagrees with those with student loans who don't feel obligated to pay them back, calling it a moral obligation to pay what's owed.
I want you to look at it and go, okay, I did that. It was a mistake. If you signed your name on the dotted line, it is up to you to pay for your debts.
She believes for many people, money problems are symptomatic of bigger issues.
It's about what's going on in your mind. And at the end of the day, beliefs drive behavior. And so really that's what this book is about. It's getting down to the depth of what do you believe about money? What do you believe about yourself as it relates to money? And if you can understand that, then you can start to actually do the behaviors to make progress with your money.
Meanwhile, Warshaw is grateful to share what she has learned from her journey in order to help others find the path to financial freedom.
When you're in debt, there's this stress, there's this angst, there's this constant guilt. The other side of that is complete freedom. I like to say that for most people, your bad break becomes your big break. And if you made mistakes, if you're willing to let God use that, there's no telling how you're going to be able to help the people around you.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still ahead, we're sitting down with the founder of Illumination Studios, home of animated films like Migration, Disciple Me, as well as Super Mario Brothers. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Illumination Studios' latest film is called Migration. It's also well known for the Minions franchise, along with Super Mario Brothers, Sing, and Despicable Me, just to name a few. Illumination Studios founder sat down with us to talk about the company's impressive film library and his career.
Isn't it beautiful? This is awesome. Oh, maybe we should go say hi. Hey there. Dax talked to a girl.
For Migration, even though it's a movie with that's really funny and it's got a great adventure and it's heartwarming.
Migration? What a stupid idea.
Okay, you're impossible.
But it's also about stepping out of your comfort zone at the core.
Here we go. Tail for the torsion.
Check.
Wing deployment.
Check.
Let's fly.
Growing up, I didn't see any animation. I wasn't allowed to watch TV on Saturday, which is when all the animated series were on. So it wasn't until I had my first son, I started to discover animation alongside of him. So that was my period of where I went from having been a live action producer to really being just so curious about what it would be to create in this medium.
This isn't about migration, it's about adventure.
I have always felt that life is about growth, and that if you can keep growing, no matter what else is happening in your life, that you're on the right path. I believe that if something is frightening, for me, it's always been a sign to go, oh, maybe there's something there that I need to really look at and not run away from.
Ooh, better luck next time. Okay, my turn.
I think the two greatest moments of personal development for me as an adult were surviving failure and understanding that failure was not something that, defined me, and then also facing up to things that were really felt almost overwhelming in terms of intimidation, and saying, okay, I'm going to jump off the cliff because I know that by jumping off the cliff, I'm going to confront what's holding me back.
Let's go destroy another game.
Look, we've experienced great success before with The Minions or Despicable Me and Secret Life of Pets and Sing. And we make these films over many years, and hundreds of artists are working on any one film. And when you see the team of artists get lit up about a story, about a world, about characters, you know that it's going to take you to really great places.
Together, we are going to stop that monster.
And so I feel like at Illumination, our role is to tell different kinds of stories. I feel like every movie we've told, at the center of it is a clear, thematic message, very often about family. Very often I've found that I'm drawn to messages that are inspiring. And above all, the primary reason for every movie we make is to bring joy to an audience. If we can watch the movie and realize that the movie is filled with joy, then we know that we've done our job.
Thanks for everything.
Goodbye. I haven't kissed Harry goodbye.
No.
Elimination Studios' latest film, Migration, is now playing in a theater near you. Coming up, see one Christian movie company's unique approach to making films. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Stay with us.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning. Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Plus, get exclusive stories and daily scripture encouragement just for you. Stay informed. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. The holidays may be over, but one faith-based film group is already making a sequel to its Christmas film this year. The Christian movie company based in West Virginia is trying to make it easier for people to find faith-based family films, and it has a very unique approach to making the films and getting people involved in making them happen. Wendy Griffith brings us the story.
3, 2, 1.
JC Films in Bridgeport, West Virginia is going on 13 years and already has more than 80 feature films to its name. President Jason Campbell explains the mission.
We have two purposes, basically. One is to make films that change the culture for Christ. And number two is, how do we get more people involved, people of faith involved in Christian filmmaking?
Actor Dean Cain, a Christian conservative famous for his role as Superman, has starred in 30 JC Films movies.
Is it my daughter? No, let me look. Just let me look. I love what Jason's doing with JC Films. I think it's fantastic.
In a recent role, Cain plays a small-town mayor in Hank's Christmas Wish and just wrapped shooting the sequel in West Virginia. He says for him, it's all about the storytelling.
I don't care how many buildings you blow up or how many people are flying across the screen. The effects are great, but that stuff doesn't. If you don't care about the characters, it just doesn't matter.
JC Films made more than 20 films in 2023 and 25 the year before. Campbell credits a unique concept, 24 film or production clubs across the country, plus more outside the U.S.
And these are people of faith that get together in their churches and their communities, and they make Christian content.
Jason, who can participate?
We see a lot of moms and dads and grandparents that say, my kid has the acting bug. They can either go out into the world, they can move to Hollywood, but sometimes that's not such a safe place. So what we try to create through JC Films is a community where moms and dads and grandparents can feel safe about their kids being involved in Christian content.
Campbell says older actors are also coming forward.
People my age and your age that, back in high school and college, we studied theater or we did a few plays. We were in the high school play back in the day. And then life took over. And now that our kids are gone, we're like, hey, I still have the acting bug, or hey, I'm still interested in being creative. But I'm interested in being creative to advance the kingdom of God.
Kane recently attended a WVU home game to cheer on the Mountaineers and says he's falling in love with West Virginia. Making movies with Campbell also reminds him of how he grew up with his filmmaking father.
I held the boom. I was the kid in the thing. I was over here. I was getting coffee. I did whatever he needed to have done. And that's kind of what filmmaking is all about at its core.
You know, the idea that we can use Christian films to advance the gospel is real here at JC Films.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
And you can find a link to watch JC Film on cbnnews.com. It is the Faith and Family channel where you can stream Christian movies and much more. Time now for your Friday Faith. We're going to leave you with this thought as we wrap this first week of the new year. Silence the noise and listen closely. You will hear the sound of abundance. Believe it, even before you see it. It's already yours. The promises of God, all of them are already yours. With that word, I encourage you to make this a Friday filled with gratitude and faith. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online. That address is cbnnews.com. Take a moment. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. The address, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Hope you'll join us again right back here, same time Monday. Goodbye. God bless. Thanks for watching.